So to do this, we are moving to a LabVIEW part. Okay. So we know that this circuit, right? It's for a conversion from DC to AC inverter circuit, and the input which we need to provide to this circuit is a trigger for our MOSFET. Okay. So we have to just provide a gate pulse. Okay, for our MOSFET so that our signal or our DC power, right? It will be converted into AC as per the input which we provide to our gate terminal. Okay, so before I'm moving to it, right? Just we'll see what are the possible inputs we can give it to this a switch. Okay, so I'll come back to my slide. Okay, so this is our inverter circuit, and when it comes to the control strategies, right? We can give a three different input for a MOSFET. Okay, so we can give a square wave as a reference signal, or we can give a modified sine, or we can give SPWM. Okay, so these are all the three different signal. Okay, three different reference signal we can provide for the MOSFET. Okay, so if we give a square signal, right, this is how our output will be getting. Okay, so we'll be providing square. Okay, square as a reference signal, and we people are thinking if it is a AC signal, it should be only a sine waveform. It is not like that. Okay, whatever the signal, okay, whatever the signal which varies corresponds to time. Okay, it can be a square, it can be a sawtooth. Okay, it can be triangle. Okay, we can take any signal. Okay, all these signals are AC signal only. Okay, it is nothing like only sine waveform is an AC signal. It is nothing like that. Okay, what are the signal which varies with time? Okay, all we can consider as AC. Okay, so from this circuit, right, we'll be getting a different form of AC signal by providing different control strategies. Okay, by providing different reference signal. So we'll develop the code for a square wave. Okay, so here I have mentioned three different control strategies, right? Among these three, I'll develop and I'll show you how to develop a code for control strategies with a square wave. The remaining two, right, I can directly open the code. Okay, I can show you. There won't be any much difference. Okay, so there will be a little modification in a code. Why? Because just we are going to change only the input signal, right? Apart from that, the remaining programming part will be the same. Okay, so we have to vary the input for our MOSFET. That's it. Okay, and we'll be seeing the different response. So we'll directly get into the LabVIEW now. So yes, I'll just open the LabVIEW and I'm going to create a new VA. Okay, so yes, um, so first we have to call our multisim file in this LabVIEW. Okay, so that should be our first step. Okay, we have to call the multisim design in LabVIEW. So to do that, I'll just right click. Okay, I'll go to control and simulation, external model, multisim. So here we can able to see multisim design. Okay, using this function only, we are going to call a multisim design. But the problem is, if I try to place this in my block diagram, right, I'll be getting a block icon. Okay, we can't able to keep that directly in a block diagram. The reason is the multisim is a simulation part, right? The multisim, it's actually a simulation part. I can't able to place that directly in a block diagram. Okay, in a LabVIEW block diagram. So what we're supposed to do is, first we need to create a simulation environment in LabVIEW. Okay, first we need to create a simulation environment in a LabVIEW, and then if you try to place a block in a block diagram, right, we can able to do it. Okay, so I'll just create a simulation environment. So to create a simulation environment, I'll right click, I'll go to control and simulation. Here you can able to see a function called control and simulation loop. Okay, so this can be used to call a multisim design file in LabVIEW. Okay, so I'm going to use this to create a simulation environment in LabVIEW so that I can call a multisim file. Okay, so I'll just take this, and I hope you might be worked on loops. Okay, so even this is similar as a while loop only. Okay, so I'll just place it over here. So how you place a while loop or for loop, right? The same way we have to place this control and simulation loop also. Okay, so now I just created a simulation environment by placing control and simulation loop. Okay, so now if I try to place multisim design, okay, I'll just right click, I'll go to control and simulation, external model, a multisim and multisim design. Okay, so now if I try to place this, you can able to see I could able to place inside. Okay, the same thing if I try to place outside. Okay, so if I try to place outside, right, I'll be getting a block icon. The reason we can't place it, we can able to place this block only inside a control and simulation loop. Okay, so I'll just place it. Okay, once I place this function, okay, it will give me a pop-up. Okay, so what we're supposed to do is in this pop-up, we need to select the multisim file which we saved in our system. Okay, in my system, I have saved this file, right? Just let me check where exactly it's saved. Okay, it is in, I'll just copy this. Okay, so I have my file. I have just directly copied the file path. So I can come back here. So yes, so I'll directly go to the directory. So I can have my file. Okay, so my file, right, which is without a filter. Okay, I have not added a capacitor as a filter. So this a circuit is a converter without filter. Okay, so I have just selected the file. Now I'll just click OK. Just I have selected my multisim file and I just selected OK. And now you can able to see the terminals are created. Okay, so these terminals are nothing but the inputs and output connector available in your multisim circuit. Okay, here you can able to see I have 4 input connector S1, S2, S3 and S4. Okay, so these 4 connectors are input connectors. And when you come here in LabVIEW, you can able to see in the left side, you will be having 4 terminals, S1, S2, S3 and S4. Okay, so these 4 terminals represent 4 input terminals. Okay, in the same way, to see the response of the circuit, we have created 2 output terminal. Okay, we have created 2 output terminal. The name is voltage output 1 and voltage output 2. Okay, so we have created 2 output terminal, voltage output 1 and voltage output 2. In the same way, when you come here, okay, in LabVIEW, you can able to see we have a terminal for voltage input 1 and voltage input 2. So whatever the connector blocks, okay, you placed in your multisim, right, for all input and output connector blocks will be having a terminal in this multisim design. Okay, as I already told you, in LabVIEW, we are just going to provide a reference input for a circuit and we are going to measure the response, right? So here we just need to give an input and we'll be seeing the response out from this circuit. Okay, using this model. Okay, so this is what actually we are going to do with this multisim design. Okay, so for the better connection, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expand this so that I can able to see the name in a block diagram itself. Okay, so just I have expanded it so that I can able to see the name over here, and I'll expand this loop also. Okay, yeah, what are the required things to be placed, right? I have taken this. Okay, so to place this block, I need to have this a loop. I have taken the loop. Apart from this, okay, apart from this, we need to do some configuration for this loop. Okay, so there are some required stuffs we need to do whenever we place this control and simulation loop. Okay, so let me do those configurations, then we'll provide with a proceed with the remaining part. Okay, so once I double tap in this control and simulation loop, okay, the left side you can able to see. So there are some extension, right? So to configure this control and simulation loop, just we need to double tap here. And here we'll be having few configuration like starting time and ending time for the simulation. Okay, as of now, you can able to see the starting time is 0 and final time is 10, which means if I run this loop, okay, after 10 seconds, my loop will stop automatically. Okay, so that is what this simulation time mean. Okay, actually, I don't want to do like that. I want this to run until I stop my code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this final time as plus infinite. Okay, I'm going to make a final time as plus infinite, which means the simulation will run indefinitely. Okay, so this simulation will run indefinitely. Okay, so this is the change I have done here. And then initial step size, okay, which represents the like how fast the simulation should happen. If you vary this initial step size, right, your simulation time also will vary. Okay, so as of now, let it be 0.01. Later, if you want to decrease, right, we'll decrease it later. Okay, as of now, I'm going to proceed with a 0.01 only. Let me click OK. So fine. So just have made a small change. Just I have changed the end time of my loop, simulation loop. Okay. So now you might get a question. Okay, like how we can stop this loop. Okay. So before that, just let me check this. Okay. So some people are joining. Someone just accept it. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So yes, so as of now, I have configured this control and simulation loop to run for indefinitely, which means it will never stop. But we can't configure like that. Okay, we must need to have a manual stop for this control and simulation loop. Like if we use a while loop, we have a condition terminal to stop our while loop, right? In the same way, we have to have some terminal to stop this control and simulation loop. So to do that, what we can do is just we can take, I'll just right click, I'll go to control and simulation, utilities. Here we can able to find halt simulation function. Okay, so here we can able to find halt simulation function. Even this we can place only inside a loop. Okay, for this terminal we can give a input. Okay, for this terminal we can give a boolean input which can be used to control my loop time. Okay, so for this halt simulation, what I'm going to do is directly I'm going to create a control for it. Okay, I'll just create a control. So now I have a button in my front panel to control my loop. Okay, so now I have a button in my like a boolean switch in my front panel to control the loop execution. Okay, so these are all some basic steps. Okay, so now we'll get into the actual part, which means the input for my MOSFET. Okay, so as I already told you, we have to provide a reference signal, right? So here I'm going to take square as my reference signal. So I'll just right click. Okay, so here we can't use a normal signal generation block. Okay, we have to use simulated signal only. So I'll right click, I'll go to control and simulation. Here we can able to see signal generation block, and I'm going to take signal generator. Okay, so here I'm going to take a signal a generator. I'll just select this and I'm going to place inside the simulation loop. Okay, as I already told you, all these blocks can be placed only inside this control and simulation loop. Okay, I just place this inside. And to configure the signal generator, right, we need to double click. And here you can able to see we have an option to choose a signal type, amplitude, offset, frequency, like the basic signal components. Okay, so as I already told you, I'm going to use square pulse as a reference signal for my circuit. Okay, I'm going to use square pulse as a reference signal for my circuit, and amplitude I have to provide which will trigger my MOSFET. So I'll just come back to my circuit. If I double tap, so this one, I think so. This model, right? The trigger voltage is actually uh, 12 or 15 voltage. I think so. Better I'll provide with a 15 voltage. Okay, so amplitude, I'm going to provide 15. Okay, so we have to provide the proper trigger voltage. Okay, so for this, I hope so. It is a 15. Okay, mostly it should be 12 or 15. If I provide 15 also, it won't be any problem. So I'm providing my amplitude as 15. Okay, and apart from that, nothing I need to change. Okay, so just have changed my signal type as square, and amplitude have changed as a 15. Okay, so I'll just click OK over here. Yes, so here we are not going to provide this signal directly. Okay, so this square signal, right? We are not going to provide it directly. So our requirement is, okay, at a particular instance, we need to turn on a single pair. Okay, so like I can show you. So for a particular instance, I want to turn on S1 and S4. Okay, and another time, like from T0 to T1, I need to turn on S1 and S4, and from T1 to T2, I need to turn on S3 and S2. Okay, so this is our requirement. Okay, so to do that, now we have to develop a logic. Okay, to do that, now we have to develop a logic. Okay, we have a square pulse. Okay, using this square pulse, now we are going to develop a logic for turning on a single pair at a particular instance. Okay, so I'll just right click. Okay, I'm going to right click over here. Then here I'm going to use some basic numeric functions. So here I'm going to use some basic numeric and comparison function. So first I'll go with this comparison function. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a greater than or equal to 0 function. Okay. So I'm going to take this, and this I'm going to compare with my square signal. Okay. So this I'm going to compare with my square signal. Okay. Whenever this signal generator value is in positive side. Okay, try to understand. Whenever this signal generator pulse is in a positive side, this comparison function will give true. Okay, so this comparison function will give output of true. So whenever my square pulse in a positive cycle, this will give true. Whenever this gives true, I'm going to trigger S1 and S4. Okay, so to do that, again I'm going to take another comparison function, which is select. Okay, so the output of this one, right, I can directly pass it over here. And actually here, we don't need to worry about amplitude. The reason why I'm saying is here actually we are not providing the amplitude. Let it be 1. Okay, amplitude let it be 1, because this signal, right, we are going to use it as just a reference one. Okay, like to identify whether the signal is in positive off or negative off, using this comparison function. The amplitude of the reference signal we are going to provide in this select function only. Okay, amplitude or the trigger pulse of the MOSFET, right? The amplitude we are going to provide here. Okay, whenever my signal is positive, whenever my square pulse is in a positive side, this comparison function will give true. Whenever this comparison function gives true, I'm going to provide 15 volt input for my MOSFET trigger. Okay, 15 volt trigger for my MOSFET trigger terminal. Okay, and whenever it is false, I'm going to provide 0 amplitude. Okay, whenever my square pulse in a positive side, I'm going to provide 15 volt as input. Okay, and whenever it is in negative side, I'm going to give 0 voltage as input for my MOSFET trigger. Okay, so we know that this input, okay, these inputs, right, I need to provide for S1 and S4. Okay, because those two are a single leg pair. Okay, S1 and S4 are the single pair. Okay, a signal or the voltage will flow through this MOSFET and it will flow through the load, and then to close the circuit, it will flow through the S4 and it will close the circuit. Okay, in the same way, when S2 and S3 are turned on, okay, our signal or a voltage will first get into S3 and it will flow in the negative direction in your load, and it will complete its circuit through S2. Okay, so S1 and S4 are one pair, and S2 and S3 are another pair. Okay, so here, whenever this reference signal is positive, I want to trigger S1 and S4. Okay, I want to trigger S1 and S4. Okay, the same way I have to do for S2 and S3. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a comparison function. Now I'm going to take less than or equal to 0. Okay, the last time I have taken greater than or equal to 0, right? Now I'm going to take less than or equal to 0. This is for another leg pair. Okay, so this is for another leg pair of MOSFET. So these two will trigger whenever the square pulse goes to negative side. Okay, negative half side. Okay, so the same logic, I'm going to take a select. Whenever my square pulse goes to the negative side, this comparison function will give true output. Okay, this comparison function will give true output, and based on that, will provide a 15 volt as a trigger or 0 volt as trigger. Okay, so this I need to connect to leg 2, which means MOSFET 2 and MOSFET 3. Okay, so now just we provided an input for our signal. Okay, we just provided the input for our circuit. Okay, we are just providing the trigger signal at a particular instance. Okay, at a particular instance, we are turning on any one MOSFET pair. Okay, at a particular instance, we are providing a trigger pulse only for a single pair. Once it is turned off, we are turning on the another pair. Okay, so this process will be keep continuous. And one more thing, just I will be creating for frequency, right? I'm going to create a terminal. Okay, I'm not going to configure here. I'm going to create a terminal so that I can able to vary the time phase. Okay, so here I'm going to create a control for it. Okay, the reference signal of frequency. Okay, the output we are going to get a AC pulse, right? The output we are going to get a AC pulse. If it is a AC, we must need to provide a frequency for that AC signal. So to provide the frequency, I want to create a control for the reference signal frequency. Okay, so we need to create a reference for this frequency terminal for this reference signal. So I just created that. Just forgot it. Okay, so this one I have completed. Okay, and next thing which you need to focus is the output side. Okay, you can able to see we are measuring at two voltages. We need to calculate the difference to find the final voltage. Okay, so we need to find the difference between those two voltages to calculate a final voltage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to numeric, I'm going to take a subtract function, and I'm going to subtract these two functional blocks. Okay, I'm going to subtract these two output voltages. Okay, and to see the output, right, we can't use a normal waveform graph. Again, we need to use a waveform graph which is been specifically meant for a control and simulation. So I'll go to control and simulation, a simulation, a graph utilities. Here you can able to see sine time waveform. So I'm going to place it over here and I'll connect this. Okay, so what I have done is, so this is the whole code. Okay, what I have just done is I have taken, or I have accessed my multisim model in LabVIEW. Okay, and this model, okay, we just need to provide the input. Okay, we have to provide an input for the MOSFET legs. Okay, so here what I have done is I have taken a square signal. So using a square signal at a particular instance, I'm going to turn on only the single leg pair. Okay, once that is turned off, I'm turning on the another leg pair, so that I'll be getting the square pulse. Okay, and here to find the final voltage, right, we are subtracting the two voltages and we are plotting on a waveform, a chart. So just we'll see what exactly we are getting in this waveform chart. So I'll just expand this, and frequency, what I'll do, right, I'll just replace with a knob, and its frequency range I'll make till 100. Okay, so yes, I can just run this. So it will take some time, as it is a simulation, right? First, it need to call the multisim file. So to get the output, it needs some time. So yes, so now we can able to see it actually plotted. It started plotting my signal. Okay, and here we are getting the output as square. Okay, as I already told you, square is also an AC signal. Okay, it is not like only a sine waveform is an AC. Square is also an AC, and here we are getting a square pulse, and you can able to see to our circuit we are providing DC as an input. The output of the circuit, you can able to see we are getting the square pulse, which is an AC. Okay, and here you can able to see we are getting a pure square waveform. Okay, we are getting a pure square waveform. We can't use these square waveform to actuate the motor. It might damage the motors. Okay, when it comes to electric vehicle or whatever it may be. Okay, so we can't use this signal to actuate the motor. It will damage the motor. Okay, so to overcome this disadvantage only, we have came up with other strategies like modified sine wave or SPWM signals. Okay, so any doubt till this part? Anyone have a doubt? So here, what we are doing is we have in a multisim, we simulated the circuit, and for the circuit, the input we are providing from a LabVIEW. Okay, so that is the only thing we are doing here. And as of now, okay, as of now, we are getting output as pure square waveform. Okay, even that is also an AC. We can't use that to actuate the motors. Okay, so to actuate the motors, right, we have to go for some other strategies. Okay, so before I'm moving to it, if people have any doubt in this code, you can get clarified now.
I think doubts will be clarified at the last. So,
Okay, fine. Okay, fine then. Okay, so I'll just proceed with a next one. Okay, so yes, the remaining one, right? I'm not going to develop the code. Okay, so just I'll open and I'll just show you. And in this, okay, in this you can able to see the simulation is very slow, right? That is because in my simulation loop, I have given a very a small a time over here. Okay, the initial step size and its configurations, right? I have given very less duration. That is the reason. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'm just going to increase it. Okay, so discrete step size, I'll just increase it value, and I'll just okay. Sorry, yeah, I'll run this again. So yes, so now it will be a plot little bit faster compared with last time. Okay, so by increasing this discrete step size, right, we can run the simulation a little bit faster. Okay, so even this minimal step size also we can decrease it a little bit. Okay, and this initial step size, okay, I can decrease it value. So even this I'll decrease it. Okay, and I'll just click OK. So now you can, sorry, again I have pressed the Alt button. I'll run this again. And the thing you can able to see, if I vary the reference signal frequency, right, my output signal frequency also will vary. Okay, so actually this reference signal, okay, the use of this reference signal is just to provide what should be the output signal frequency. That's it. Okay, the use of this reference signal, right, it is just to specify what should be the output AC signals frequency. Okay, we are not considering its amplitude, nothing. Okay, from this simulated signal we are taking only the frequency, so that my output signal can have some certain frequency which we require. Okay, whatever the frequency we specify here, right, for that frequency our output signal will be generated from our circuit. Okay, so this is how we can provide a reference signal or a control signal for our MOSFET. Okay, so this is one of the control strategies. Okay, apart from that, we have two more strategies, which is a modified waveform and a SPWM waveform. Okay, so here I can just show you the outputs before I'm getting into the code. So this is the output which we got now. Okay, the pure square waveform. Okay, if it is a modified sine waveform, okay, so this is how we'll be getting our output. Okay, so modified sine waveform, right? So this is how we'll be getting a final output. So to get this final output, right, we need to change, okay, we need to change the timing logic in the trigger signal. Okay, for the MOSFET we are providing the trigger signals, right? So we have to do a change only in the input side. Okay, in the same way, the next one you can able to see SPWM. So this one, right, better I'll show it in a lab view so that I can zoom and show you this part. Okay, so first we'll start with this modified sine wave. So not this one. So already I have a code, so I can show you both the code. Okay, like the current one which we created and the new one, so you can able to relate it. So in both the code you can able to see there won't be any change in the output side. Okay, the output side we are going to do the same thing. Okay, only in the input side we have changed the logic. Okay, only in the input side we are changing the logic, the output side the same thing. Okay, so in the input side you can able to see, instead of generating a single signal we are generating two signal. Like the first one you can able to see it is a square signal. Okay, and its amplitude we have provided as a 15. Okay, in the same way in the bottom we are providing a square signal, we are generating the square signal, even its amplitude is 15. Okay, so for your understanding purpose what I'm going to do is just I'm going to create a waveform indicator for this output so that you can able to see what could be its output signal. Okay, so we are generating two signals, sine and square. We are just adding it. Okay, if you want to see the output, you can just see here. I'll just run this one. So here you can able to see once we add two signals. Okay, so this is how we are getting output. Okay, so this is the output which we are getting from our signal. So actually this is a reference signal. Okay, so this is just a reference signal. And next you can able to see we have another function called in range and coerce. Okay, so next we have another function called in range and coerce. This function will make our signal to bring between minus 15 to 15 volt. Okay, okay, in the waveform you can able to see we have a signal from minus 30 to plus 30, right? But this function will make our signal to have a voltage between minus 15 to plus 15. I can just show you. So instead of connecting here, what I can do is I'll connect the output of this in range and coerce. You can able to see I'm providing my upper limit as 15 and lower limit as a 15. Okay, so now if we run, so again as it is simulation, it will take some time. So yes, so now you can able to see my signal, the maximum and minimum voltage, it is coerced between minus 15 to plus 15. Okay, so to do that only, just we are using this in range and coerce function. Okay, and the next important thing is the control strategy, which means we have to turn on, okay, we have to turn on a single leg pair at a particular instance. Okay, the particular instance we have to turn on only the single leg pair. So to do that, here we are using the control strategies, which means whenever this signal is greater than 2, okay, whenever the signal value is greater than 2, okay, the reference signal value is greater than 2, we are providing this signal as trigger value. Okay, we are providing this signal as trigger value. Okay, which means, sorry, not this one. Just stop this. Sorry. Yeah, so in this reference signal, whenever my amplitude is greater than 2, okay, which means from this point to this point. Okay, so in a positive of cycle from positive 2 to negative 2. Okay, so we'll be turning on S1 and S4. Okay, we'll be turning on S1 and S4. Okay, whenever its value is less than 2, okay, whenever its value is less than 2, we are turning on S2 and S3. Okay, we are providing this signal itself as a trigger. Okay, just keep this in mind. We are providing this signal itself as a trigger, which means the trigger amplitude will vary. Okay, which means the trigger amplitude will vary. So now if we provide that as an input, okay, I'll just delete this, it is not required. Okay, I'm just going to delete this part. So to display my input as well as output in a single waveform, here we have an build array. Okay, so the use case of this build array is just to plot my input as well as output in a single waveform chart. That's it. Okay, so apart from that, there is no other reason. Okay, so just I can pass my input, okay, input and my output, right? I can make it to display in a single waveform chart. So here, instead of providing a true and false, now we have developed some logic, which means we have added two signals, sine and square. Based on the signal, we are providing an trigger pulse. So this is actually the modified square pulse. Okay, so this is actually the modified square reference. So the output, if I run, okay, here you'll be getting both a reference as well as SPWM, the final output. So better what I'll do is instead of passing this, I'll pass only the square waveform, sorry, the reference sign, so that you can get a better understanding. Okay, so I'll just run this. I think so. Sorry, I have connected square. Actually, I need to connect sine to compare the output. Okay. Yes. So now it would be fine. Again, the same, just a minute. Okay. So here we are just using sorry, sine and square for SPWM, right? So here we are actually using two squares only. Okay. So in this case, here we can't compare with input sine waveform. Actually, I thought this is as a SPWM. Sorry. So this is just a modified square wave, right? So here we'll be having two square and just we'll be adding it. Okay. So here actually we can't compare and see the output, but in the output I can just show you. Okay, like how exactly I'm saying it as we can compare with sine. Okay, so I'll just run this. Even this is more or less like a square output only, but this is not a perfect square, it is a modified square. We can able to see it somewhat looks like a sine waveform. Okay, so if it starts from here, right, we can plot this like this one somewhat like a square, a sine waveform. Okay, like this. Okay, so that is actually a possible. So this one somewhat it matches with a sine. Okay, it is not a pure sine, as well as it is not a pure square also. It is a modified square pulse. Okay, compared with the pure square waveform, right? So this will give a less damage to your motor. Okay, and we'll move to the last one, that is SPWM output. So we know how to provide a SPWM. We should have a sine as well as we should have a sawtooth. Okay, so we have to compare those two signals. Okay, you can able to see here this sine waveform. Okay, the sine waveform is just to provide the frequency of our signal. Okay, so this is just to provide the frequency of our signal, and in the bottom, okay, in the bottom we have a sawtooth signal. Okay, we have a sawtooth signal. Even this sawtooth, right, it will be having only the, it will be pushed to positive off. You can able to see we have changed its offset as a 0.5, and the signal will generate between 0 to 1. It will not be between -5 to +5 or -1 to +1. Okay, so this one will generate a signal from 0 to 1. Okay, it will not be between minus, which means negative to positive. Okay, this has only a positive half signal. Okay, and here you can able to see we are comparing. Okay, we are comparing the signal. Okay, based on its compared value, we are providing the output, either it is 0 or 1. Okay, so this is a main comparison. Okay, so this is just to provide. Okay, this is just to say whether we need to pass 0 or 15 as a trigger. Okay, so this is the first comparison. Okay, but the actual comparison we are doing here. Okay, which means the turning on a single leg pair, right? That comparison we are doing here. Okay, so these comparisons is to turn on a single leg pair at a particular instance. Okay, so these two comparison function which we used for turning on a single leg pair at a particular instance. But this one, right, this comparison function and a select function, okay, this is to provide a variable voltage for our reference. Okay, so this is just to, this comparison is to make or to provide a variable trigger values. Okay, so I'll just run this and I'll just show you. So again, it will take some time. So here you can able to see, this is actually the reference signal. Okay, I can increase its frequency so that you can able to see even better output. Okay, so here you can able to see we are getting the, this is actually the reference sine waveform to compare with your output, and the output of your circuit which is in a red color waveform. Okay, so this is actually SPWM signal. Okay, even that is a AC signal. Okay, so if you provide these signals, okay, even these signals can be able to actuate your motor, and these signals, right, will not damage your motor as much as your square waveform. Okay, and most of the converters, right, will be providing this SPWM output only. Okay, and so here you can't able to see better, so I'll just decrease its frequency. Yeah, so in this you can able to see even better, and I'll increase it and I'll just change its duration. Yeah, so in this you can able to see.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah.
From 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. we have a validatory feedback and staged session. So I request you to conclude the session like within 5 minutes, sir. It is my
Yeah, this is the
request.
last, this is the last one, just I'll close this.
Okay, fine, sir.
Yeah, okay. So in this SPDM signal you can able to see initially, okay, the time duration will be less. Okay, the on time will be less, off time will be high, and as the time increases, which means the amplitude increases, okay, amplitude of my reference signal increases, right, on duration of my the final output will be increasing. Okay, and off duration will be increasing when it's peak. Okay, when it reaches its maximum peak, on time will be high and off time will be less. Okay, the same way when it decrease also, when the amplitude decreases, the on time will be decreasing and off time will be increasing. The same will be applicable for a negative off cycle also. Okay, so this one for a simulation, right? Whatever I have shown is for a simulation. The same thing can be implemented in real time also. Okay, the same thing, we have to do a very small change in this code. Okay, so here we have a code, right? So in this code, we just need to do a very small change. So by doing the change, right, we can make use of this code in real time also, which means we can able to take out a real signal. Okay, and we can able to actuate the real motor. Okay, to do that, we need to have some hardware. Okay, we have to interface some hardware to our system. With that, we can able to do in a real time. So let me check whether I have. Yeah, so these are all some of the hardwares, like I have mentioned stereo. Okay, stereo hardware. So using this hardware, right, we can able to generate a real-time signal, and real-time, right, this is how we'll be getting the signal. Okay, and this will be the logic. Okay, the programming logic to get SPDM signal out from this signal. Okay, yes. With this, I'll close my session. And if you have any doubt, right, you can get clarify. Either me, or Raj will be help you to clarify with your doubts.
Yes, I'm also here.
If anyone have a doubt
So if
or
anyone has
anything
any questions, we can address the issues, or else probably we can close up the session.
okay, fine then. we'll close the session now. Okay. So thank you all, and over to you, sir.
So thank you for giving us this wonderful opportunity, and we would like to hand over the session to the coordinator, sir. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. There was some technical issue from the Mr. Rajkumar. Then he have arranged the alternative for that, and with that alternate expert also. So, like, we are very happy that our participants have got full benefit of this session, and it was excellent to have some inside view about the software application like Multisim and LabVIEW. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your session. Hope we will be getting in touch with for the future correspondence also, sir. Now, very soon we are starting from 4 p.m. We are starting our validatory feedback and test session. So it is near about 4 or 5 minutes only going to get left. So immediately we will start our session within 5 minutes. So all the participants, to please remain present here. We will start our session very soon. And sir, now if you want to leave the session, then you can leave definitely. And if it is okay to share your PPT, then you can send email to our coordinators. They will coordinate contact you, to you very soon. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, if possible, could you please share your contact details, Mr. Rajkumar, sir, please?
Yes, sir, sure. I'll just share my contact details in the comment section. Okay, so possibly you can contact me if you have any other.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
So,
okay, thank you so much, sir, for being with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, participants, just wait for the 5 minutes, and we are starting our next concluding session very soon, sir. Okay, let's end this session. Let's leave this particular meeting, and let's start for the new from the new link that is available in your calendar. And I was sharing that link into the WhatsApp group also. Let's end this session, so this can be not to be disturbed, and we can send the stop the recording set not to be get recorded in the record that is right. Let's end this session, and let's start again another session from the calendar, and the validatory session link will I'll send you soon, as also have given the link from that also. That is why, right? So you can all can leave this session, and we let's connect through that last link.
It will be on and off thing, right? Okay, so this is something similar. Bootstrapping is something similar to things which will not allow, even though people will say like it's a voltage control device, just applying voltage will be enough, but in reality only it will have some leakages, in capacitance. So unless you apply a proper power to it, okay, it may not even trigger. So this is possible for the bottom portion, okay, but for the top portion, I'll go for a pick-on schematic. Okay, I'll right click, place component. Place component. I'll go to sources. Okay, and you'll use a signal voltage, current controlled voltage source. And here I'll find something called voltage controlled voltage source. So I'll place it here. I'll take another one and I'll place it here. Okay, top ones are mostly affected, and that's why they make use of bootstrap circuit to make sure that whatever they generate is going to be with respect to this set point value. Pulses. Okay, from lab view to here, okay, we'll send the sequence at which this should be on and switching on and switching off. Okay, but in order to link lab and multisim together, first we need to provide we use. So depends, right? So those components may or may not be available in LabVIEW. Okay, but one thing which we can do is we can probably make use of voltage control devices. Okay, in order to make that connection. Okay. So inverter is ready. Okay, we need to connect it to load. So load, in order to connect to load, okay, this is going to be positive. So positive, I'll connect from here to here. And negative, I'll connect from here. Okay, so when this both are true, okay, and this both are false, okay, you can say that okay, the current through this resistor will flow in this direction. Okay, when these both are on, okay, you can say the power will flow in this direction. So you can say it's an inverter, a DC to AC. So ideally, now your circuit is ready. Okay, inverter circuit is ready. Ideally, okay, so we need to consider much more things. Okay, when it comes to when testing. Okay, so that will we'll discuss about it. So now is our objective is to give gate pulse to these MOSFETs in a specific sequence. Okay, different types of sequence will see different control strategies will observe. Okay, so I have already told you that these pulses will be fed from LabVIEW. Okay, because LabVIEW has the power to control the embedded system. Okay, mostly these components will be controlled by embedded system. Okay, and such the way, okay, it will right. So normally we make use of a bootstrap driver, okay, in order to make it possible, right? A bootstrap driver or uh, confusions in the range. Okay, because whenever you want to turn on